So call this meeting to order. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, June 11th. At our regular City Council meeting. For those wishing to address the City Council on any item on the agenda or under public appearances or oral communications, please complete a speaker card located at the entrance to the Council chambers and submit to a staff member as early in the meeting as possible. And may we have roll call, please?
Ms. Christensen?
Here.
Mr. Gingona?
Here.
Mr. Buenaventura?
Present.
Mr. Sylvester?
Present.
Ms. Manalo?
Present. We have a special presentation proclaiming June 11th, 2018 as Philippine Independence Day. And with us today, we have the Filipino Bayanihan Resource Center, otherwise known as PBRC. And we have the President, Ray Satori, and also the founding member, Perla Abirentos. So we are proclaiming Philippine Independence Day here in Daly City, whereas the Philippine Independence Day, the National Day of the Philippines, is an annual national holiday commemorating the Philippine Declaration of Independence from Spain on June 12, 1898. And whereas the annual June 12 observance of the Philippines Independence Day recognizes when Filipino revolutionary forces fought Spain colonization. The Philippines flag was raised and its national anthem was played for the first time in 1898. And whereas the Treaty of Paris in 1898 ended the war between Spain and the United States, resulting in Spain surrendering to entire archipelago comprising the Philippines to the United States. The Philippines revolted against the United States in 1899 and achieved national sovereignty on July 4th, 1946, through the Treaty of Manila. Independence Day was officially observed on July 4th until the Republic Act of 4166 was set out to move the holiday to June 12th, which was approved on August 4th, 1964. And whereas July 4th is celebrated in the Philippines as the Filipino-American Friendship Day to acknowledge the enduring relations between the Philippines and the United States, a shared history and common commitment to the democratic values that have served to strengthen the ties between the two nations. The United States is also the Philippines' major trading partner and home to over 3 million Filipino migrants as well as Filipino Americans. Whereas the City of Daly City honors and values its Filipino and Filipino American residents for having a strong commitment to family, service, faith, and hard work, and recognizes the contributions that Filipinos have made to enrich the diversity of our community. And I, Justin C. Manalo, Mayor, and the members of the City Council, do proclaim June 11, 2018 as Philippine Independence Day.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course. Yes, please, if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you very much. I prepared a little note. The Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, tonight we observe the very essence of unity in diversity and diversity in unity. As President of the Filipino Bayanihan Resource Center, the PBRC and the community of PILAMs in the city of Daly City, which comprises 55% of the total population and 30% of the population in the country, wishes to thank the city of Daly City for this celebration, especially the flag raising ceremonies this morning. It symbolizes our respect, honor, and dignity to this great country and to this great city. You have given us a place in the sun, even just for one day. Thank you very much for that. Similarly, to some pundits, it is a comparison to other events like the celebration of the Italian-American Anglo-Saxon Day, the Chinese celebration, the Armenian celebration, the Black Heritage Month, the Japanese-American Friendship Day, and the Latino, and so on and so on. And this would like to. This great nation is founded on the basis of unity, diversity, honor, and integrity, and freedom for all. As said by the great President John F. Kennedy, or JFK, my idol, he said one time, long ago in his message in Berlin Wall speech, "People of the world, let us unite despite our disagreement. Together we can all achieve this for the freedom of man and dignity of mankind." With this word of JFK. With this, thank you very much to the city. We will never forget the good things that was done to us. We always remember the good things. By the grace of our Almighty, I would say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to say something?
I just want to say thank you to all of you. Oh, that's okay. For supporting the flag raising this morning on behalf of the Filipino community. I'm honored to accept this proclamation, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tito Pilla. Vice Mayor?
So I wanted to say also thank you, Mr. Satori and Tita Perla, for what you guys have done to really organize and celebrate the event this morning. It was a wonderful day. We had some sunshine. It was a very touching and moving ceremony to have the flag raised. We had a beautiful singer and some wonderful guests that came. It was really a lot of your effort. Your welcoming reception after it, I thought was incredible. With some really good food, and so you made this possible, obviously with all the staff here in Daly City, and we all worked together in making this a successful event, and so I thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other comments from my colleagues?
Go ahead, Mike. No, I'm going to say something funny.
That kind of a one, and I will go. You know, as I look at Ray and Perla, I just think back to the times that we've shared actually working in the community, putting together community events, and you know, as we were doing this today, it harkened back to the times when we first put on the Film Festival back in the early 90s. The Sister City Committee and the work that you two have put on, and I know that it's now it's not really happening anymore, but I would say that that those of us that were here during those times, you really made us proud with the kind of hard work that you did for not just a one-day event, but a two-day event that really showcased the Filipino community. Thank you, Tita Perla, for always making sure that everybody gets fed. And Ray, for all the work that you do for PBRC. Thank you both very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Sylvester.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You know, I went upstairs afterwards. It's called Merienda, which is a light snack. And unbeknownst to me, I did not know what we were going to have. And with so many people coming upstairs today, we started getting low. And I looked around, he said, don't worry, Tita Pearl has got more in the back. But I wanted to make mention, Daly City is a very, very diverse community. And I want to call attention to the Millers. I had a recent occasion to meet with the Millers over coffee. And Miss Ronnie Miller asked my wife, would you teach me how to make some pancit? And today, I'm sorry I didn't call you, but they had a lot of pancit. But I just wanted to bring that out. So Tita Pearl, if you can keep that in mind, and let's all get together and enjoy and share the culinary delights, of all cultures. It's a great day in Daly City. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Sylvester. If there are no other comments, I do want to say thank you again for all of the organizing and really spearheading this. Also, I'm very proud to have been like a young person at one point volunteering at PBRC during my young collegiate years, and what you've also been able to offer to young high school students when I was in high school around educating young people about their culture and heritage was really something special. So thank you for your continued work as PBRC, and we appreciate you for that. Thank you. So now we're moving on to the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of May 14, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Moving on to the approval of the agenda.
Motion. Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Now on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. That passes. We are on item 11, the consideration of new fees for the Daly City After-School Youth Recreation Program, aquatics, lessons, and field and facility rentals. This was continued from our May 14, 2018 meeting. We have Mr. Kern here as staff.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. I do have an updated, more inclusive staff report to follow along as we go through this. A lot of information in there, so I have a copy for myself too, if you guys.
So for clarification, it's not what we have in.
The content is very similar. The format has been changed and a little bit more detail added.
Oh, it's a more detailed. Oh, great. Well, I love the details. I know Mr. Sylvester loves the details as well.
Thank you.
I now see the column that I was asking for.
Oh, and here's
Miss Perla, Tita, and Ray.
Oh, this is so much easier to read, too.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor. Tita Perla and Mr. Satori, could you kindly see this meeting through? Because we do have an important issue that's going to come up later on, and I think you should be here. Thank you so much. I think your bag will be fine. Chief will take care of it. Okay.
Once again, good evening. So the item before you is the proposed fees that is a continuation of the public hearing that started on May 14th. And we'll break it up by subject, starting with the after-school youth recreation program. We currently offer this at 4 school sites in Daly City for this current school year that's winding down this week. Daniel Webster, Universera, Tobias, and Panorama. So there's 3 different school districts covered there. Next year, it looks as we will only be at the 3 sites, Universera, MH Tobias, and Panorama. Daniel Webster's going with a different provider for their after-school program, but that's who we're currently serving this fiscal year. The monthly rate for Daly City students right now is $64 a month, and we're proposing to increase that for the Daly City resident students to $69 a month, and non-Daly City residents at the schools we serve pay a $25 a month surcharge. So those students pay slightly more at $94 a month. I jumped ahead there. In your packet, you can see that some of the other after-school programs, and there's a wide variety in Daly City. And from a high end of $421 a month if you happen to use the schools program that offered at
Speak just
university.
a little louder.
Sure.
Maybe just pull the
So-
microphone a
yeah.
little closer.
So the fees at the different schools that offer after-school programs, the fees vary widely from a high of about $421 per month at Unipero Serra School, which is a different program than what we offer at the same school, to a low of about $240 a month. So we're very competitive in our fee. We still do subsidize this program somewhat, and we increased it a couple years ago, but we are seeking to increase it $5 a month for the Daly City students, and we're keeping proposing to keep the $25 non-resident rate for that program. Before we move on, do we have are there any questions about that particular program before we move on to aquatics? Okay, we'll move into the aquatics. So you see before us a slide that has our current fee schedule for aquatics from preschool all the way to American Red Cross lifeguard classes. Our current fee for Daly City residents for preschool is $59 a session. We're proposing a new discounted rate for Daly City residents at $65 per session, and the standard rate would be $81 for a session. That would be the rate for non-Daly City residents. And for the youth, which is probably our most popular lessons, would be $53, or it's currently $53 for Daly City residents, $66 for non-residents. We're proposing to make that $60 for Daly City residents at the discount rate, and a standard rate of $75 per session. The same fee structure for the teen, adult, and senior lessons, and also for the swimmer's aid program. We do offer semi-private lessons. Our current fee for that is $110 for Daly City residents and $138 for non-residents. We are proposing the discounted rate for Daly City residents to be $120 for a session and $150 for non-residents, the standard rate. And American Red Cross lifeguard classes, we currently offer at $190 for that program, $242 for non-residents. And we're proposing to increase that very intensive program to $220 for the Daly City residents and $275 for non-residents. And there were some questions about how we compare regionally in swim lessons. So you see at the top is what our average lessons are or proposed for toddlers, youth, teen, and adults. So we're at 65, 60, 60, and 120 for the semi-privates. If you look south of us, comparable lessons in Burlingame are $110 for toddler, youth, and $96 for teens and adults, and $480 for their semi-private lessons. In Pacifica, comparable lessons are $76 for toddlers, $68 for youth, $65 for teen, and $105 for semi-private lessons. In San Bruno, their fees for comparable classes are $60 for toddler, $60 for youth, $60 for teen and adults, and $250 for their semi-private lessons. And to the north of us at the Janet Pomeroy Center, toddler lessons are offered for $133, youth lessons at $200, teen lessons at $200, and semi-private at $200. San Francisco Rec and Park has the best prices around it. I'm sure highly subsidized rates, $47 for toddlers, $28 for youth, and $59 for teen and adult, and $182 for their semi-private lessons. So that's how our rates compare with some of our neighboring cities. We
So it
do
looks
also,
like we're right in the middle in that.
we're, yeah, kind of on the low end. It's a pretty wide range, you know, from San Francisco offering what I'm guessing is a very deeply subsidized program to some fairly expensive ones in Burlingame and at the Janet Pomeroy Center. We're not seeking at this time an increase in our aquatics pool party, but that came up at our last discussion, so I thought I'd give a comparison on that too. When we first started the pool party rate, when the pool opened up, the rate was $386 for Daly City residents and $482 for non-Daly City residents. At those fees, we had very, very few pool parties, and it tended to be on the high end, so that's why we're seeking an increase in that. Again, the rates for pool parties regionally vary quite a bit from 400 for Burlingame residents, and they charge 500 for non-residents. The low end, San Bruno, 240, 300, Pacifica, 300, and maybe this is where San Francisco Rec and Park makes up for their subsidies to their swim lessons, because their pool parties are quite a lot more expensive at $500 for something comparable to what we offer at GMO. So that's kind of a summary of the proposed aquatics and swim lessons. Are there any questions about that rate structure?
Vice Mayor Bonaventura?
I thought you had mentioned at the last meeting we had this discussion that the Daly City, the Jamona pool parties were they the most popular in terms of renting and booking, and so it always seemed to be full?
They started off very, very slow, and Romeo Benson's here, who's in charge of our aquatics program. Very few rentals in the first couple of years when the pool reopened. It's getting more popular as people are recognizing the value and the ease of having a party there. In fact, I think what I might have mentioned is at our last meeting, someone actually stopped me in the lobby and said they were having a pool party for the kid, and they did it last year, and what a great time it is. And the beauty is you have a 2-hour party, and there's a classroom that comes with it, so you have the cake and food, and then you leave, and you know, we take care of cleaning up the mess. So
I mean, is it always full? Is it hard to book? I just want to try to gauge
no, they're definitely openings. The pool is not as popular as some of our clubhouse rentals, and again, I think part of it is, you know, it is a bit pricey, but we have seen that number steadily increase over the last 5 years, but we're not at capacity by any means.
And then when you have the breakdown of discounted rates for Daly City residents versus non-residents, I'm assuming that obviously more of Daly City residents are being calculated here. I'm interested though in what is the percentage of non-residents that use these services or these programs in general. I'm trying to gauge whether or not the non-residents is, can we go a little bit higher in terms of charging the non-residents, where we can find sort of a better sweet spot for them because they're non-residents. So we can obviously want to save Daly City residents, but is there a opportunity for our sweet spots to move a little to recoup some revenue?
I believe that would be possible. And to answer the first part of your question, we do have priority Daly City registration, and most of the swim lessons at Giamono Pool are 100% full, and the vast majority of participants are Daly City residents because they have first crack at registration. So literally, some of our swimming classes fill up within 30 seconds of the online registration. Classes hit the full mark within. So the non-residents kind of backfill whatever is available the following day. I don't have an exact percentage, and I'm not sure if Romeo might be able to help us out. But I would say it's safe to say the vast majority of the kids participating in our swim lesson classes are Daly City residents because of the priority registration. But the other part of your question, I think there is room, if it's the council's prerogative to increase the non-resident side, we can certainly entertain a higher rate if you recommend one. I don't think that will turn anybody away because
That's what I'm concerned about.
there are so few pools in the area, and we're not the only ones that are impacted, even some of the more expensive ones. There's just not that many opportunities, which is why we get so many San Francisco, even at the low San Francisco rates, we get a lot of San Francisco people trying to get into our lessons because they can't get into their San Francisco lessons because they're full.
And they can't get in here either.
At certain levels they can. The younger
Oh, yeah.
levels
No.
are completely full, but as they get a little bit older, there's a little more room to take in non-residents on the second day, non-priority registration.
Are there any other questions?
I just have a question. So is Ray proposing something, some sort of change?
I want to hear everything first before.
Okay.
All right. We'll move on to our field and facility rentals, which are incredibly popular in Daly City. And we've got 4 different categories or types of renters that we work with in the community. We have residents, you get the resident discount rate, and then there's resident nonprofit groups, like such as PBRC or a nonprofit group based here in Daly City. We allow 1 discounted rental of any facility one time a year at 40% less the resident rate. We also have our standard rate for non-residents, and the proposer is right now to charge non-resident renters $20 per hour more than the Daly City discount rate. Currently, we charge a differential of $75 per rental. And then we also offer a non-resident nonprofit. So if it's a nonprofit organization based out of Daly City, they also can get a single discounted rental per year. The standard rate less 20%. We talked a little bit about insurance last time, and again, this is the rates that the city pays our insurance provider. And it varies, their formula is based on capacity and whether or not there's alcohol served at events. So on the low end, the insurance fees that we charge are proposed to be $105 per event for the smallest facility and $200 for the largest facility. And we have a breakdown of the proposed fees by facility, taking into account some of the input from City Council at the last meeting. Starting with the Hillside Clubhouse, it's currently $50 an hour for Daly City residents. The proposed increase would be $60 an hour for Daly City residents at the discounted rate and $80 for non-residents per hour. The same for Marchbank Clubhouse. They're identical clubhouses that were built at the same time, modular clubhouses. Larkham, which is one of our absolute most popular facilities, is currently $75 an hour. We're proposing the discount rate for Daly City residents go to $85 and the non-resident hourly rate be $105. Gellert Park Clubhouse is currently $85. And with the input from our last meeting, we're proposing to keep it at $85 an hour for Daly City residents and $105 an hour for non-residents. And at the War Memorial, we have the activity room, which currently rents at a rate of $100 an hour for Daly City residents. We're proposing the discount rate there be $110 per hour, and that actually should be $130 for non-resident. The same at Cafe Dolger. It's currently $100 an hour, proposing $110 an hour for the Daly City discounted rate, $130 for the standard rate. The Merced Room, which is the room that is attached to the Patelli Event Center at the gym, currently rents for $85 an hour, proposing that be $110 per hour and $130 for non-residents. And the Albert Taylor Community Center, currently that rate is at $100 an hour, proposing $110 and $130 for non-residents. Lawson Hall is at currently $75 an hour, and the proposal would be $85 an hour with $105 for non-residents. Lincoln Park Community Center, $125 is the current rate. We propose $130 an hour for Daly City residents, $150 for the non-residents. And then the picnic shelters at Geller Park, each side rents for $100 per day. That's from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we're proposing to make that $125 a day for the Daly City residents and $200 a day for non-residents. And we also have gym rentals for non-athletic events. We're one of the few cities that do offer our gymnasiums for non-athletic events. We're currently, the hourly rate for Daly City residents is $200. We're not proposing any changes to that rate, but would propose a standard rate for non-residents of $220 an hour. For that would be for all three gyms, Bayshore, War Memorial, and Pacelli. Falling behind here. And then we guys also have a couple other options for people. We have classrooms for rent at the Dolce Center. They currently rent for $25 an hour. We are proposing to keep that $25 an hour discounted rate for Daly City residents and $45 an hour for non-residents. And we also have the classrooms at War Memorial that we currently rent for $30 an hour. We're proposing to keep that at $30 an hour, but increase the non-resident rate to $55 an hour. And our rental deposits vary based on the capacity of the room. Right now, for the smaller rooms, we ask for a deposit of $250. The larger ones are $800. Those would be for the gymnasiums. And we're proposing to keep $250 as the base deposit for the small facilities and raise it to $400 for the medium size and $800 for the larger and $1,000 for the largest of the gym, Pacelli Gym. Those are fully refundable deposits, and as long as the renter meets the terms of the agreement they sign at the time they rent it, they get that 100% deposit is refunded to them. It's sort of an incentive for them to take good care of our facilities. And we also have currently a $50 change fee if somebody makes a change to the reservation. There is a fee to make that administrative change. And if somebody's late on paying, we require that the facilities be paid, that the rental be paid 100% 2 weeks prior to the event. In the event that somebody slips behind that schedule, there is a $100 proposed fee for that. You can see, again, across the region, comparable facilities for rent out there for both residents and non-residents vary widely. For comparison, I put Cafe Dolce out there. It's proposed $110 for the resident discount and $130 for the standard. If you look at Colma, their beautiful community center there is $59 for residents, but quite a bit higher for non-residents. Sterling Park, they don't even allow non-residents there, and it's $150 for their residents. Brisbane, the community center is $55 for residents and a whopping $144 for non-residents. And the Mission Blue Center is even more. It's $301 for residents, $430 for non-residents. Westboro Rec Building in South San Francisco, 147 residents, 162 for non-residents. The Joseph Fernicke's building in South San Francisco is $184 for residents and $199 for non-residents. And the Chakotay Room in Millbrae is $109 for residents and $136 for residents. So again, our rates tend to skew on the lower end regionally, even with the proposed increases. And I mentioned that a lot of the other cities that have gymnasiums don't allow any uses that are non-athletic. We do both social gatherings and athletic events. In our proposal for athletic uses at our gyms, at Bayshore, War Memorial, Upper and Lower, and Pacelli, we're currently at a rate of an hourly rate of $75 for general rental for athletic purposes. We do rent to outside schools. Schools outside of Daly City have a discounted rate of $50 an hour, and Daly City private schools currently have a rate of $35 an hour. The proposal is to level that out to $100 for all of the, for the Daly City resident rate, and $120 an hour for non-residents. That would be including schools outside of Daly City for all of the gyms. And in the event of War Memorial, occasionally we have, there's big volleyball tournaments and basketball tournaments that will rent the whole complex. So it's $100 if you're just renting one, but if you're going to rent both and tie up the whole facility, it's it is proposed to be $250 for the upper and lower, and $250 an hour, excuse me, and $270 an hour for non-Daly City residents. Any questions about the gym fee schedule? No, it's just rather dry information. I apologize for that. It's a lot of numbers up there.
Where was I remember at the last discussion, there was a discussion that was brought up by Commissioner Manufo. What facility was she talking about?
Camp Unity
Yeah,
Camp Unity used to be at Benjamin Franklin School, and then they moved to Pauline Brown. To my knowledge, in my time here, Camp Unity was never in one of our facilities. So I think she was speaking in just general terms and keeping the facilities affordable to the community.
It was not at.
I don't believe Camp Unity was ever, no, Camp Unity was never at one of our facilities. It was first at Benjamin Franklin, I believe, and then at Pauline Brown, correct? Yeah. Oh, I'm getting a thumbs up from the chief.
Okay.
So.
So do you remember when was the last time they were there?
I think they were at Pauline Brown up until last year.
Okay.
Yeah, again, getting the thumbs up from the chief. So. And there was also
So
a
I'm
question.
assuming she went to the school district about those rates
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
I
I would hope so.
We
Since
didn't.
we have no control over them.
There was another question that you mentioned that too about resident and non-resident rate, and sometimes people get confused. Broadmoor, in our view, it's outside of the city limits, so the Broadmoor residents and Colmo residents do pay the non-resident rate. Okay, so any other Jim questions? We'll move right along into baseball. Our fields are quite popular. March Bank is one of the premier baseball diamonds on the peninsula. And it currently rents for $20 an hour, as do the baseball diamonds at Gellert and Westlake. We are proposing to increase that to $30 an hour for Daly City residents and $50 an hour for teams outside of Daly City. And you'd be surprised, we have teams from San Francisco to Palo Alto wanting to use our baseball field. So we thought that the non-resident rate, again, I think this is not going to scare anybody away at $50 an hour. We do provide a service of lining the fields. Some teams prefer to do their own and they bring their own equipment, but we currently charge $10 a flat rate to line the fields. And the same for lights, and we're proposing to increase that to $20 per field, both for the resident and non-residents. It's the same service provided to each of them. And just to be clear, there are no lights at March Bank. As beautiful as it is, there are no lights there, so the evening games are at Gellert or Westlake. And soccer, we have the new turf field at Gellert. We also have, next to that, we have a grass area that I have no idea where this figure came from, but it rents for $33.33 an hour. Currently, we're proposing to raise that for the grass area there to $40 for the Daly City discount rate and $60 for the standard rate. And then the turf field over at Gellert currently rents for $66 an hour. Daly City, or excuse me, schools outside of Daly City, which there are quite a few that currently pay $50 an hour, and private schools within Daly City pay $35 an hour. We're proposing the Daly City discount rate for all of those groups to be $75 an hour, and for outside of Daly City, $95 an hour. And we also have an agreement with the school district for Policita. That was a joint project of the city of Daly City and the school district, and actually the town of Colma. And SI, St. Ignatius College Prep, also contributed to the construction of that. Part of that agreement is we control the rental of that field, non-school hours, so evenings and weekends. And we're proposing the same rate there as we would charge at Gellert. And just like baseball fields, I've got a comparison for what the going rates are in the area. We mentioned the CYO gym, which is the old girls gym at Ceremony High School, if you're familiar for that facility. That currently rents right now for $115 an hour. The gym at Fernando Rivera Intermediate School rents for $105 an hour. TRP and Ben Franklin are both available for $75 an hour. Again, non-school, when the school doesn't have athletic programs of their own going on. Over on Brotherhood Way, Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church has a gym. They rent out for $85 an hour. The Janet Pomeroy Center by the San Francisco Zoo is on the very low end at $40 an hour. And some of the surrounding gyms in South San Francisco and San Bruno are currently $100 an hour for residents. And in the case of Terra Bay in South San Francisco, it's $183 for non-residents and $125 an hour for non-residents for the Veterans Memorial Recreation Center in San Bruno. And some more comps on baseball fields. We're proposing $30 an hour for the resident discounted rate and $50 an hour for the standard rate for our baseball fields. Nearby, the rate at Hillside Athletic Field from the South San Francisco Unified School District is currently $26.50 for their residents and $41.50 for non-residents. Orange Park, Jim Fregosi Field over there is at the same rate. Lara Field in San Bruno is $30 an hour, and the other diamonds in San Bruno City Parks also $30 an hour. The Fairmont Fields in Pacifica, interestingly enough, are free to residents and not available to non-residents. And then the Mission Blue Fields, nice complex up in Brisbane, currently is $35 an hour for residents and $62 for non-residents. So again, at our proposed fee, we're still kind of on the low end for baseball field rentals. And soccer fields are really scarce in this part of the country. We'd mentioned we have Gellert and TR Policita that we control. The Hillside Athletic Field, soccer field in South San Francisco Unified School District rents for $26.50 an hour for residents, $41.50 for non-residents. Crocker Amazon is $31 for San Francisco residents and $80 for groups like AYSO type groups or soccer clubs, which are really popular in San Francisco. And in San Francisco, they have Crocker Amazon has a complex, West Sunset, and they have the brand new fields over behind the Park Chalet in San Francisco. So again, our proposed rates are within the ballpark of what the neighboring jurisdictions are charging currently. And that wraps up of that part of the presentation.
I just have a question.
Yes.
On the bottom one, Crocker Amazon, West Sunset, and Park Chalet, what do they mean by an individual? So that would be like a casual group of people.
Yeah, I believe that's how they define it exactly.
That would say, we're gonna get together and play soccer, or practice, or whatever, yeah, okay. That used to happen in Golden Gate Park a lot, just a bunch of people, somebody'd bring a soccer ball, and pretty soon there'd be a
And I can tell you that the brand new fields
and then
at
the
Park
80
Chalet
is
are
for
booked solid.
organized soccer games, yeah, okay, great.
There is
thanks.
such a shortage of soccer fields in the area. Again,
Yeah.
we get requests from teams
Yeah.
from San Francisco as far south as Menlo Park. We've had teams looking for fields, Burlingame schools looking for fields up here.
Any more questions from my colleagues?
Yes.
Councilmember Sylvester.
Mr. Curry, I know it was a little rough the last meeting, but I first of all want to commend you for the extra work that you put into this, because it's clearly explanatory to the differentiation between Daly City residents and non-residents. And I think transparency is the key to help us make that decision.
Thank you.
I do have a question, and I'm not going to hold you to this. A rough estimate would be great for me. At the Larcombe Clubhouse, is that the one that?
The Larkham Clubhouse, that's the one west of Dolger Center.
That's correct. Okay, and how many parking spots do they have, roughly?
80?
80, Okay,
Right there, but, you know,
right, okay, in the area. And Lawson Hall,
I hear you. 0.
how many parking spots?
0.
0. So if I were to rent a clubhouse, where would you think I would probably try to go?
I'm gonna guess Larkham.
Larkham,
Unless you live in the Bay Shore and you walk to the clubhouse.
exactly, and,
A lot of people for retirement parties and family reunions and stuff, they just walk.
well, what I'm getting at is I think you get more value-added benefit if you rent Lacombe rather than Lawson Hall. So, when we see the increase in the prices here, where both of them are the same, I would, hope that, Lawson Hall, it may turn folks away from Lawson Hall. So I would probably recommending maybe, since they don't offer the same amenities as Lacombe, to reduce Lawson Hall by maybe $5. It's just my recommendation because of the amenities. Another one that I notice is, the Merced Room. Is that also a Dolger?
Yes, that's the one that's attached to the Pacelli Gym.
Okay. How many parking spots?
Well, it's everything that's at the Dolger.
Yeah, usually if there's an event there, they,
Thank you, Mr. Curry. Any reason why that went up the most, $25, as opposed to every rental we have in the city going up only $10? That one is the highest increase, $25.
and again, that was, when we initially reviewed, we were looking at comparables based on capacity, so that was kind of what drove that, but we're certainly, these are suggestions.
Okay.
And we're certainly open to, moving that downward, if that's the council's desire.
And that's all I have. I look at the amenities that each one of these clubhouses have to offer, and I was going to ask to be more specific and go by square footage of each one, but that would really be too much work. So, but if we can consider the Merced Room, I think to go up too much is a little bit tasking for our Daly City residents. And
Have you ever been at an event at the Merced Room?
yes, I
Yeah.
definitely have.
And they have that little kitchen area
Have
in the
that
back?
kitchen, they got a
Yeah.
lot of parking, but it's gone up $25, so we're gonna compare that to Gellert Park
Yeah.
Clubhouse.
I'm thinking maybe it was underpriced at 85. That could be. Because when you think about Gellert, because I know you've been there.
Exactly.
And if you look at it, it's definitely on that category, you know.
Does Gellert Park House, it doesn't have a kitchen.
Yes,
It's
it does.
Not a
I've
big kitchen
cooked
like
in that
this.
kitchen.
It's small.
Okay, but Gellert Clubhouse has only gone up, didn't go up. They want to keep it at the same rate of $85 to $85. It has a full kitchen, has plenty of parking, whereas the Merced Room went up $25, plenty of parking, and it has a kitchen.
Make a proposal,
Well, if we
to vote.
Lawson Hall, I would hope to stimulate usage, and as Madam Christensen said, folks who want to rent Lawson Hall, they'll probably walk to it, and being in the absence of parking, the lower amenities, I would recommend that we reduce that one from the current rate of 75, we keep it at 75 instead of going up to 85. And non-residents, 95. I'm willing to get some recommendations from my colleagues on Merced Room and Gellert Park Clubhouse. It just bothers me that Merced Room went up so much and the others did not.
Vice Mayor Ventura.
Yeah, so my concern goes back to the residents and non-residents rates. I think those categories obviously the non-resident category is something that we can adjust a little bit higher. So my first question is this: the concept of but in some of the other surrounding communities, you had said that there are some communities where they will not allow rentals of non-residents. So I have two more questions. Do we have any facilities in Daly City that we do not allow non-residents to rent? And secondly, is there a reason, what is the reason for not allowing non-residents to rent the facilities? Is it an attempt to control the market, the supply and demand? The rate?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Protecting our assets? What is the?
We do allow non-residents to rent all of our facilities.
Oh, there's no one
No.
per place?
No, and I can only speculate for some of the cities that don't allow it, maybe to minimize the wear and tear on their facilities, or staffing issues perhaps, or that to give the residents the benefit of running them without having a conflict with a non-resident wanting to rent. That's speculation, I don't know the answer to that.
So when I asked the question about can we do something about the non-resident fees to make them a little higher, to where it's a rate that, as I said, it's within the sweet spot, so we're not shooing people away. I don't want that effect, but at the same time, we're governing for Daly City. We want our Daly City residents to have that extra benefit, but the non-residents, I'm not so concerned about. In fact, I'm thinking they could shoulder some of the privilege of doing business here in Daly City. So, in terms of moving that needle, in general, is it something that you can do, like, come up with your own, where you think that sweet spot is, or is that something we need to direct you to? Like, do we need to give you a percentage? What is it? Because I don't know what the sweet spot is.
Yeah.
Well, none of us know.
Yes.
Yeah, and as you saw from some of the other, it's pretty wildly diverse from community to community. Our former policy was we charged a flat fee of $75 for facility rentals for non-residents, whether it was a 4-hour rental or a 10-hour rental. Most of our rentals are probably in the 5 to 6 hour range for social events. So under the old fee for, let's say, well, to make the math easy, we'll pick a 5-hour rental. They were paying $75 flat. Now at the $20 an hour premium, they would be paying $100 more than under our current fee structure for a 5-hour rental as a non-resident. So I think we're probably around that sweet spot. It's probably more art than science, but I think, looking at what some of the other facilities are going for, and yeah, we definitely don't want to price ourselves out of the market, which is why we're being probably maybe a little bit cautious. So you had asked, is there room to move that needle up? Probably a little bit, and I don't know what that magic mark would be that would scare people away. But our facilities are in pretty high demand, for residents and non-residents. They're appealing to
So
people.
from the usage that you usually receive on facilities, like basically the data that you've seen over the years, you have that data to see how much facilities are being utilized by residents and non-residents. I mean, as far as demand, because you have kind of the data.
I believe we can extract that data from the system.
And so then from there, you can see kind of what
Intuitively,
the trend is, and over the course of time, you said it's more of an art than science, but I mean, you can have the data points to see whether or not, it's a majority of our residents, or is there more folks that are non-residents that are using our facilities?
Intuitively, without that data in front of me right now,
Yeah,
I would
I'm
say
saying, but
I
you
would
would-
say the majority
Yeah.
of rentals are for Daly City residents.
Okay, well, that's what we would want.
Right.
And if people are of mixed resident and non-resident, you know, like a family event, they will have the resident come and rent it.
Yeah, there is that element
Obviously.
too.
I mean, you know, people
absolutely
aren't
do that.
stupid.
Always find something.
Yes.
I would say, Ray,
So
if
it
you're,
may be a little
Yeah.
misleading to say
Yeah.
that they're actual Daly City residents.
exactly, unless you take a
Person-
poll at every party.
But we do ask for identification.
Saying they have family members that are.
Yeah, hey, everybody's got a friend that lives in Daly City. So Ray, if you wanted to, we're raising it $20 an hour on all these rentals for non-residents. Would you want to make that 25? And then, this is a document for this year. This can come back as many times as you want. But it makes sense to me, rather than holding it off any longer, is you're never gonna know what the sweet spot is unless you try it. Because there's no data out there to tell us when is it that people are gonna just say, hell no, it's too expensive, I'm
And
going
we
someplace
have
else.
experienced that in other programs.
Yeah.
The poster child for pricing ourselves out of the market was the adult softball league that used to thrive in Daly
Yeah.
City. Those rates got so high that we scared every softball team
Yeah.
out of the area. So we want to be cautious to not
Yeah,
push
because once they
too hard.
leave, it's really hard to get them back then, yeah.
So in your opinion as the director, is what she is suggesting, Ms. Christensen is suggesting, within that acceptable range?
I believe it would be, yes,
So I'm all for that.
$25
Yeah.
now.
I mean, it's up to the council, but yeah, I think that's a start.
And so that would mean for Lawson Hall that it would be 100 instead of 95 for the non-resident. Just want to make sure that Glenn is aware of that, that
That's-
would change.
That would be correct,
Right.
yes.
I'm away from that.
Retaining at 75.
Yeah, if we keep it at 75, the
For
non-resident would be
resident, the
100.
non-resident rate would be $100 with the $25 per hour surcharge, yes.
I'm good with that. Okay, what are we gonna do between Gellert and Merced?
Well, the question, Glenn, is what are you going to do? What do you want to do?
Well,
I mean, it's not up to staff. It's our responsibility to make the decision. So do you have some good ideas?
again, Merced room went up $25.
Yes.
I'd be willing to, say, bring that up $15 for the Merced room from 110 to 100 and keep it at 130 for non-residents.
So 130 for non-residents, and then for Daly City residents, what was the number?
And so
100?
What rooms are these?
I'm sorry?
The Merced
Merced
room.
Merced room.
The Merced room.
But see, that went up $25. That went up the most,
Right.
even though it has the same, practically almost the same amenities as Gellert Park Clubhouse, but Gellert Park Clubhouse did not go up.
You're saying,
So,
yeah, there was
instead
just a larger gap around the
Yes.
increase for
Yes.
that.
Well, and there's two ways of looking at this. You either talk about how much things went up percentage-wise, or you look at what is the value of the place. And that way
Okay.
you're comparing what the value would be to rent that place, not what it was rented for before, but in the current market, with current thinking, what is the value of the place? Because, I don't know, my sense is that the Merced room was underpriced at 85. So whatever you guys want to propose, I'm happy with it as it is.
You're happy at 110. The
Yes.
proposal now from Councilmember Sylvester is at 100.
And I'm not going to quibble over $10, so let's just get this thing resolved. I'll go
so
along
you're
with you
okay
if that's
with
the way it
100?
goes.
Okay. All right.
Just a point
So-
of clarification.
I'm willing to be outvoted.
That one would be on the, it wouldn't be consistent on the non-resident fee if we went $30. And we're fine with that, I just want to be clear that every other differential would be $20 an hour from the non-resident rate. As proposed right now, it would be a $30 differential for non-residents at Merced Room. I just want to clarify that.
Well, non-residents gonna pay more.
Okay.
Daly City
Loud and clear.
residents, you're getting value.
Yeah, it's
So
our
we're keeping the
priority.
Merced room, you're proposing keeping it at 130 For non-residents?
For non-residents, 100.
And just 100, okay. And like I said, I'm more than happy to be outvoted.
So are there any other comments or questions for Mr. Kern? If not, I do have a question, and it's not necessarily, maybe you can provide this information in the future, but it's not gonna deter me from moving forward. But at the last meeting, I did ask very concrete dates on when we raise the fees on the facilities. I noticed that you did find that for the pools, which I appreciate. I noticed that in your report, but I didn't find that in the report as far as when the last time we increased fees for the facilities.
Yeah, what I could find is on the last page of the report.
Okay.
There was a city council resolution on April 26, 2010 with a fee schedule, and it was reaffirmed.
Okay, so this was updated.
And from what I've heard from staff, that we've been holding those fees pretty consistent for quite a number of years. But the last time it was specifically adopted by resolution was April of 2010.
April of 2010.
April 26 to be
Okay.
precise.
2016. I think in moving forward, what would be, I appreciate that information. In moving forward, is being able to kind of track when our fees were increased, so that when we do have presentations on what's updated, we can see kind of the trajectory of when the fees were increased, kind of like the trend and when we did. So I think it's just a matter of moving forward to have these data points.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So at this point, I think we'll open the hearing to the public. I do. And may I call Miss Marianne Mann, please?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My children and my grandchildren and two of my great-grandchildren have grown up in Daly City and have taken advantage of the various pool items and all the different possibilities of children. As far as the rents are concerned, I'm not concerned with that. But I am concerned with some of the residents are not really what you call affluent. You know, if their parents have a difficult time feeding them, the raise in the cost of just going swimming or getting lessons for a 6-year-old. I would like you all to really consider, I know we need money and you know, this kind of thing, and I understand that, but just maybe keep the children in mind, that maybe they could get some kind of reduced rate or something. But I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. I think that's all of. Do you have a public comment on item 11? Please. And then,
That is why I don't want to attend this meeting, but Your Honor, a public office is a public trust. Public facility is supposed to be a public service. The residents of Daly City are not that well off. That is why we elected officials, because this one is in the form of taxation. Taxation increasing the fees. If we're going to increase the fees, especially those people who are not that well off, it might affect them. They might not be able to use those facilities. If we're going to allow it, then probably we're not serving them. Because as an elected official, we're supposed to protect and to preserve, see to it that the community as well, especially the destitute and the marginalized. Those people who have money, they will not go into the places. But places, people like these people who are trying to enjoy life by going to swimming, using these facilities, is one way of trying to help them also. But if you're going to increase them, this will surely affect their finances. There are several ways how to to probably to obey on this. Probably increasing 5 cents per copy, 5 cents for this and that in the form of sales tax, so as to preserve the fees that we have now, because this is some sort of public service also to the people of Daly City. So my point here, Your Honor, is if you're going to allow this, you're trying to tax more the small people here in Daly City. So I would suggest that status quo is the best. And another question is, where will this money go? Will it go to the salaries again? Because those facilities are owned by the people, and the people deserve also better treatment. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you very much for your comment, Mr. Satori. Vice Mayor Bonaventura.
Yeah, so, Joseph, I have been asked this question before, and I actually forgot to ask it. In terms of the amount of discretion the director has to waive or to adjust the rate of any of these amounts, and also, I know we have some sort of program where we have 501 nonprofit. They have another level discounted. I'm curious to know what that is, and also finally, is there another another forgiveness kind of program that maybe the organization is not a nonprofit? Is there a practice that we have to adjust their rate for the truly, even though they haven't achieved nonprofit status, but they are deserving of some kind of break? I guess I'm just wondering what kind of discretion do we have, has been the practice, and is it something that you have found is worthy of a discussion amongst the council?
Sure. In terms of practice, as the director, I've not intervened to change a fee schedule for any certain group. But there is past practice that does allow bona fide homeowners associations, those formally recognized homeowners associations in Daly City, to use facilities for their meetings, which usually don't occur that often, for free and no charge. So there are homeowners groups that do take advantage of that.
Is it because they're a nonprofit, or just they're just
It's past practice, and I can tell you from the Serramonte homeowners, they were adamant that they are the ones that paid specifically to build that clubhouse with an agreement. I don't know if it exists in writing anywhere, that is their place to have their homeowners association meetings. I don't think they meet all that often there, a few times a year. You know, the Hillside homeowners have used the Talia Center for their homeowners association meetings. The Habitat for Humanity group, I believe, uses War Memorial. Anyway, so there are some formal, recognized, longstanding homeowners associations that there are no fees for meetings. And the size.
And most of them meet like once or twice or maybe 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Lions Club has a special relationship with our department because they sponsor our events and have stepped up and covered all the costs, for example, of our egg hunt every year. They have had discounted rates. One a year, okay. So that they're conforming. And then other groups, it's not part of our recreation facilities, but if you've been in the basement of the Serramonte Library, the community room at the Serramonte Library is available at no cost, again, to community groups. The stipulation is that it has to be during open library hours. And whatever meeting or gathering they have must be open to other members of the public. So they can't have a private secret meeting down there. But if they want to have a community meeting, the Serramonte Library's community room is available at no cost to community groups.
Yeah, that's great to know. I didn't know that use was there, as far as other maybe community members that want to hold a meeting that's open to public. So that's great to know.
So what is the discounted rate for a nonprofit?
If they're based in Daly City, they get 40% off of their rental fee one time a year.
40%?
40%, one time.
One time.
the Lions Club are good customers of ours. They rent the Dolger Cafe quite a bit for their various fundraisers throughout the year. That's one that comes to mind because they're there fairly frequently.
Comment.
Councilmember Sylvester.
Cost recovery.
We're
Are we
inching
losing
towards-
money?
Absolutely.
We are losing money. So this is not a form of taxation. It's basically to help us do the deferred maintenance, other costs, hiring staff, and we are basically subsidizing, and we're trying to reach some sort of, we can't break even.
Right.
And if we were to raise these fees, we probably still wouldn't break even. So the whole idea is we as a city can only do so much, and we've got to stop the bleeding somewhere. So thank you for answering the question. I'm concerned about cost recovery as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. All right, at this point, I think we've closed the hearing, right? Or we'll
Close the hearing.
thank
Second.
you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So there were two changes that were proposed with what was presented to us today, which was on Merced Room, which was at an hourly rate for Daly City residents at 100. And then the Lawson Hall, which what was proposed was $85, but the proposal was to keep it at 75. And the proposal was to raise it to 105, but it's, I think, at 100, what was mentioned by Councilmember Sylvester. So if, at this moment, if there's any other questions or additions to the presentation, I'm asking if there's an a motion to.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the consideration of new fees for the Daly City After-School Youth Recreation Program, aquatics lessons, and field and facility rentals, which was continued from the May 14, 2018 meeting with the suggested changes mentioned.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second at this point, and we have a roll call, please.
Ms. Christensen?
Did that include my request?
The $25 an hour,
Yeah.
that's what I have in my
That's
notes.
wrong. Okay, yeah, then fine.
And one other point of clarification on Lawson. So to keep it at 75 for non-residents, 100, $75 for Daly City residents, 100 for non-residents?
Yes.
Okay.
They gotta pay.
Or which, did you mention Lawson?
Lawson.
75 was to keep it and
Right.
retain it at 75.
And 100 for
And 100
non-residents? Okay, I
for
wanted to clarify that.
non-residents, yeah. Okay, may we have roll call, please?
Ms. Christensen?
Yes.
Mr. Gingona?
Aye.
Mr. Buenaventura?
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester?
Yeah, aye.
Ms. Manalo?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you. At this point, we are here with public comment and oral communications. May we have Mr. James Casey Spingola, please?
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor. Come here tonight with a message of hope to those who hear it and a warning to those who don't. On April 10th, I learned that my 11 dental amalgam silver fillings from the same dentist in San Bruno were directly responsible for my endless battle with severe depression for over 20 years. It has been known that mercury is the second most toxic heavy metal neurotoxin on the planet, and silver fillings contain 50% liquid mercury by weight, sitting inches from the brain, slowly but surely releasing invisible and odorless mercury vapor that accumulates throughout the body from chewing, brushing, drinking hot or carbonated liquids. Women with silver fillings pass mercury through the placental barrier and contaminates breast milk. Mercury is bought from China, the largest supplier in the world, considered a biohazard before and after it's in one's mouth. Environmental Protection Agency states there's enough mercury in one silver filling to contaminate a 10-acre lake. Therapists and doctors never tested me for metal toxicity, even though it caused all the symptoms their antidepressants claim to fight. Skipping through, because I only get 2 minutes here, brought me to the filth in our tap water. It has been known that whatever's on the bottom of your shoe is in your drinking water, with over 80,000 chemicals, heavy metals like mercury and lead, pharmaceutical drugs, and parasites recycled going house to house until we buy more fluoridated tap water from San Francisco, which just opened up their groundwater for the first time since 1930. Most filters like Brita aren't effective against these toxins and are not certified to filter out certain contaminants like sodium fluoride. Well 17 at San Bruno sits less than a mile away from Belmont Elementary School, contains cadmium, thallium, cyanide, sodium fluoride, thallium, and mercury, which are mostly all neurotoxins that affect the brain. Skipping down even farther, I'd like to end tonight by asking for support and representation in banning dental amalgam in San Mateo County, ending fluoridation of public water systems in San Mateo County. I ask that you spread awareness, because without that, we are doomed to crumble with history recording with the greatest astonishment that those that have the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening. My name is James Fingola. I'm on Facebook, No Shoes News. Thank you so much, and I'll leave copies at the door. Any questions or comments for me?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can we have Chris Romero, please?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members of Daly City. How are you guys tonight?
I'm going to ask you to speak up because I don't think they're going to hear you on the TV.
Got it. Try to speak louder, thanks. I'm here for a public statement about racial discrimination that happened 2 days ago at the Lucky Supermarket on Mission Street at the top of the hill. It wasn't against me, but it was against my niece and her parents. They were in line at the grocery checkout, and the lady behind them began to harass them with racial remarks, including they're stealing our food, they're stealing our jobs, get out of our country. So my cousin recorded it, and so now there's a 1-minute video of this lady about 60 years old harassing them. So I'm here to express the concern of my brother-in-law. He's at work right now, but he is wondering what could the establishment of Lucky done for him. Like somebody should have stepped up and or called the manager or maybe security to get the lady out of there before it even escalated to that moment. Mm-hmm. What I'm more concerned of is for my niece. She shouldn't have heard anything like that, and in the future for possibly my children, because I shop there a lot, I wouldn't want that happening. So I'm here to ask for like help to maybe stop this or enforce more rules, or maybe even find the lady and cite her, or just some type of punishment, or just help.
Unfortunately, there's no law against being a racist bigot.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's God's law, but people's law, unfortunately, there isn't. I'm sure everyone on this council and everyone within the being able to hear your voice is very upset that this happened to your family, and that we wish it hadn't. And if we'd have been there, hopefully we would have had the courage to step up. So it was
Vice Mayor Benaventura.
It was a shopper, not an employee.
It was a shopper.
Yeah.
Right behind them.
The employee, we could get all up in Lucky's business, but, yeah.
I saw the video, and I thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
And I have questions about what happened. Obviously, the video speaks for itself, but I'd like to know, I think you mentioned it, that you were asking for some help, but can you tell me, if you know, what exactly was done after the video cut off? Did the Lucky employees respond? Was there any kind of discussions? What do you know?
What I've read in the comments on the video, they brought the old lady or the lady to the back and spoke to her, but that's all I know. What was done to her, and to the couple, I believe they're like still being interviewed now by Philippine News and other newscasters around the Bay Area. So as for the lady, I'm not too sure, except that she was spoken to in the back. And I did also read it in the comments that she's done it before at the target. I'm not sure if it's the one at Ceremony or the one at Coma. So it's not her first time doing this to people of different ethnicities.
She's in the wrong city to be doing
Huh?
that. Wrong city to be doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
She's in the wrong city.
If she's doing that in
So-
Daly City, she has
so-
come to the wrong town.
So
This is
yeah.
a town that celebrates diversity, and we stand up for each other and we protect each other. I just hope the next time she comes and messes with you, I'm standing behind her in
So
line.
too.
So
I'll get up in her face.
Thank you.
Chris, it is?
Yes, it's Chris.
Chris, thank you so much for bringing this before the council. We are not blind to seeing what's happening in Daly City. Coming from a prior law enforcement background, it is very, very difficult to find some sort of crime, not unless somebody takes an overt action as a result of committing, say, a hate crime of some sort. The mayor, and I can speak for the mayor, we had this conversation. I think at the time it was going on.
Oh, wow.
So if you made notice, I made a comment earlier that I asked folks to stick around because the mayor, it really bothered her. She's going to speak to this, and I have the video, and I intend to show it to everyone to reiterate the point as the mayor. I'll let her take it from there, but we are aware.
Thank you, Ms. Eden.
Thank you. You know, I was going to bring this subject up at our city council reports, and that's when it was, but you're here at public comment. And there were family members that reached out and wanted to know what we could do. Once I saw the video, it definitely alarmed me as well. And I think that, you know, it was alarming around the racial slurs and anti-immigrant sentiments that were definitely said. But what was mentioned is we also want to show this to let other people know that this is not something that is reflective of, you know, our community in Daly City, and that is this one person, and that it's very unfortunate and it saddened me that this couple had to endure that, and also the young 5-year-old. I did prepare a statement, official statement that I will send out, and that I can send to you, and you can also forward to your family. But it's a response to it, and I think you could give it to him. But this is just to let everyone know. This is the statement, and to let everyone understand where we reside and stand in Daly City. And after this, we'll actually play it, and so that people watching out there, watching this meeting, can see it, because not everyone is on social media, and that they understand that this is not the type of behavior that we condone and believe in. So let me just read it. And so this is a response to the statements that occurred at the local supermarket in Daly City over the past weekend that has been made public through social media channels. These statements were public racial slurs and anti-immigrant statements that happened in the line at the Lucky's check stand that were repulsive and ignorant, and is not what Daly City embodies. Daly City is part of diverse cities in the Bay Area. At the last census, the racial makeup of Daly City was about 56,267 Asian, 23,842 that were white, 3,600 African American, and 805 Pacific Islander, Native American at 404, and 11,236 from other races. And from other races, 4,969 from 2 or more races. But it's really showing our diversity, and that among the total population, there's about 33.2% that are Filipino, 15.4% that are Chinese, 1.8% that are Burmese, 1.0 that are Vietnamese, 0.6 that are Indian, 0.6 that are Korean, 0.6 that are Japanese, 0.2 that are Indonesian, and 0.2 that were Thai, and Hispanic or Latino of any race were about 23,929 persons. And really, it's just talking about, the percentage of the Daly City population, which is 9.4, which is out of Mexican origin, 4.9 that's Salvadorian, 2.7 Nicaraguan, 1.3 that's Guatemalan, 0.7% Peruvian, and 0.7% Puerto Rican, and 0.5 Honduran heritage. And this is what Daly City is about. It's about its beautiful diversity. But Daly City will continue to celebrate its rich diversity in cultures, which is the very asset that makes our communities and neighborhoods beautiful. This display of disrespectful and outright blatant ignorance is never encouraged. The amazing and diverse communities are the heart of our neighborhoods, and immigrants from all backgrounds have contributed to build the fabric of this nation. In 2017, as Vice Mayor, one of the first actions I urged the City Council to pass was Resolution 1713, which was officially adopted on February 27, 2017, which indicates below. It is a policy of the City of Daly City to respect and support every resident of the community in all matters related to civic life, irrespective of ethnic or national origin, race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, economic or immigration status. And as a statement of policy, the City Council wishes to express its repudiation of bigotry and discrimination in all forms, especially as it relates to ethnic or national origin, religion, and immigration status as currently being espoused in public forums and discourse. Daly City is a community proud of its history and heritage of immigration, which has led to it to being the most culturally and racially diverse cities in the nation. It has saddened me to see community members subjected to such harassment, as well as propelled me to ensure that our other community members are aware that this is not aligned with the values we uphold here in Daly City. Living in Daly City since the age of 8 years old has given me the lens and appreciation to respect all cultures and to embrace what creates community. Our multi-ethnic neighborhoods and businesses are what makes Daly City so special. Let us join together in the continuation of cultivating the celebration of diversity and culture. For the family and your family that has been affected by this incident, thank you for the courage to share the story. So hopefully this becomes an educational platform around combating the displays of anti-immigrant sentiments and racism. And so I just wanted to share that with you, and that strongly this type of sentiment is not what we condone here in the city of Daly City. And I did speak with Jenny, right? And I had told her if she wanted to come over and to share her story, that she was more than welcome to do so. So at this point, so that the people in watching have some background, we'll play the video, which is right, I think, on the computer, so that residents and people that are watching our city council meeting can have some context.
Okay. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you. Pass it to them.
Look at honey, look at honey. Look at honey, licky, 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 licky it. You don't want me to talk Philippine? Come on, come on, come on. Look at all the groceries they buy. Steal our food, steal our money, our jobs.
So racist, oh my God.
Got a family to feed.
So what? Go back to your country.
This is my country.
It isn't. You lied. You lied. You lied just like you got here.
Okay. You have the right to refuse service, right?
Take our food, take our jobs.
I think you should.
And then they
honestly
say, oh, the prejudice. Oh, we're all looking for the dream. Well, screw our dream.
I think she needs to know who's coming.
Does she sound like she's a little inebriated?
She looks like she's had a couple cocktails.
Thank you very much for posting that. That was Councilmember Sylvester's idea to put it so that people have context to what that video was. And so I thank you for coming over here. We can continue to further talk, but I wanted to let you know that as a council on the city of Daly City, it's definitely not what we condone. And if it's more around education and letting people know that this is not what the type of behavior that we accept. So.
Yeah, and I would like to say I'm really glad that someone caught this on video. And if any of you out there see this lady doing this again, videotape it. Because it can, eventually it's going to catch up with her in a community venue. It will. We need to know who's doing this, and we need to all, be ready to step up when it happens, and not just stand quietly there, but to gather other people of the community around and say, this is not what we do here. This is not what we believe here. Maybe you need to get out of town. Yeah. Because if it happens to one person, no matter what, each one of us is different in some way. They'll pick on us for whatever's wrong with us that they see, but it matters. It can happen to any of us. It doesn't matter what ethnic group you are or what religion or what anything. If a person like that, they will come after anyone who they see as different from them. It's terrible.
Thank you. The next public comment we have is Pamela DiGiovanni.
Good evening, Council. Speaking of our beautiful diversity, because I'm here to stand up for love and then triumph and diversity over that hate. As a National Council of Jewish Women, there is no acceptable level of any kind of hatred, bigotry in any form, as you guys have spoken out about. And I think that if we rally together, and I was telling those nice young people to experience something like that, I won't go into details now, but I'm not sure if they've experienced it, but I sure have, and spraying swastikas on my front door, and other people like Javier or whatever. But anyway, so today I want to let them know it was a beautiful day. We celebrated our first Filipina celebration of the Independence Day, and it was done in a beautiful manner that trumped a lot, excuse that word, trumped a lot of the hate that we just saw. And I think we can work together and say stop, and then do something to try to help and educate others. But it is not acceptable here at all. I also suggested they go to the Southern Poverty Law Center, because that's where it tracks the hate groups and things like that. We don't know, she's probably not a member, but we have 99 white supremacist groups, and they've always existed. But someone at the top in D.C. has allowed this to happen and to become active bigots, which is not acceptable. And if we do DNA, who knows where we come from? I'm sorry. So I wanted to say, given that this is June Pride Month, where we celebrate with the diversity of the LGBT community as well, which everyone is welcome in the city. It doesn't matter what your background is. And thirdly, I'd like to thank the mayor and Councilmember Sylvester for the North County Fire Authority meeting where they asked the questions, the right questions, because we were given a budget, which is, a report, which I didn't see any supporting documents with it. It was a piece of paper that didn't show any breakdowns. It gave numbers. I don't have it with me, but I did see that luckily there's going to be a council report tonight. I just saw where it's overstaffing with a number, no one's salaries, just cities, and then a number that says $4 million. So I didn't, as a community member, I didn't find that satisfying as an annual report. So people at home know that's the administration of the North County Fire Authority with the upper echelons. It's not our firefighters. So I'm looking forward to the report. Thirdly, is National Band, which I noticed, I was at the Bayshore meeting, that our police officers were wearing a black band, And I would like to ask, give them, I'm over my time, but if the council would mind listening to the story of why they wore that band and still have it on tonight, because it has to do with our own Daly City Police Department, and the reason they were wearing it tonight is a police officer, I believe it was killed on duty in 1966. So I'd like to yield and ask if they could have a public comment. Thank you very much.
Chief Hensley, would you like to come up and explain what National Band Day is, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Council. I'll explain why we're wearing the bands today and tonight for the last few days. So back in 1966, we had when the police department was up at Wellington and Mission, we had an officer make an arrest on somebody for indecent exposure. At the time, the police department there had a small jail cell. So the officers locked the suspect up in the jail cell in the evening. The next morning, they brought him out of the jail cell with the intention of fingerprinting him. He assaulted one of the officers and fled out of the police department. So he fled northbound down Mission Street. Officers gave chase. Officer Richard Class, in 1966, had been here about 5 years. He was the first to catch up to the suspect and tackle him. There was a struggle on the ground between the two of them. The suspect was able to get the officer's gun and fire one round into his lower back. Right about the time he went to fire a second shot, other officers got there, were able to take Mr. Cedeno into custody. Officer Richard Class underwent several surgeries over the next few days and died on June 9th, 1966. So every year from that time forward, for about 3 days or so, the Daly City Police Department adorns our badge with the black band to keep him in memory. So the people know we don't forget about him. We've never forgotten about him. We never will, and I hope we never have to wear another band for someone else at any other time of year. Right now, it's just Officer Class, but we know his family pays attention. They're still out there. We see his family once a year at the Fallen Officers Memorial in May, and they're always watching and listening, and we let them know that we've never forgotten Officer Class.
Thank you very much.
And didn't from that event, basically holsters all over the whole country were changed?
Holsters were changed right around that time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Hensley.
Thanks.
So at this point, do we have any appointments or for board or commissions?
Yes. I would like to nominate Charlie Tellerico for the Planning Commission. And it's been 7 weeks since the last time I proposed him, and there was some concern with other members, so they've certainly had 7 weeks to resolve whatever concerns they might have.
Second.
And, great, thank you.
So there's a second, or is there any discussion? No? Okay. All right, let's,
Yes. Madam Christensen, yes, thank you for reminding us. It's been 7 weeks, and the issue was brought up by a couple of my colleagues, and I wanted to find out or ask if, has there been any follow-up?
Mr. Tallarico has not reached out to me.
And you are the person who has the problem with what he may or may not have said, and you chose not to reach out to him. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm just telling you, Mr. Tallarico has not reached out to me. I specifically asked you at the last time that this issue came up, if you would defer to this issue, defer voting on it, so I could find out from
Yes.
Mr. Tallarico. And you decided that you didn't want to give me that time, and so the issue is settled, and Mr. Tallarico had every opportunity to try to have a sit down with me, and I have not received one word that he was interested in.
I don't know what it sounds like to you, but it sounds to me like a power play. Mr. Buenaventura, Vice Mayor, expressed some concerns about something he heard from a third party, so basically a rumor, that Mr. Tallarico had said something that Mr. Buenaventura didn't like, something that was disparaging in some way, but he would not go into detail. So it's Mr. Buenaventura who has the issue with Mr. Tallarico. I've contacted Mr. Tallarico many times. He says they have, we all have access to commissioners' phone numbers, their cell numbers, and their emails. We get that list twice a year, and it's held up in the office anytime we want to call and get that information. So I would assume if I had a problem with something somebody said about me, I would call them up and talk to them or agree to meet them. So it sounds like a little game here is being played. You have to come, I've got the problem with what you said, but I don't have the courage or the whatever to actually talk to you directly. I'm going to demand that you come to me. Our commissioners are people who volunteer. They are Daly City residents who volunteer their time and their expertise to represent all of you in giving us advice on developments and buildings and all sorts of things like that. So I would think that it would behoove us, who are the elected officials who actually do get a paycheck from the city, to make the gracious offer to meet with someone. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, you know, these are volunteer positions, and if I had a problem with anybody else's commissioner, I would probably go straight to that person directly and try to get clarification as to what was happening. I certainly wouldn't put the onus upon the person with whom I have the complaint to clear up the complaint with me, because it's a volunteer position, and if I have a problem with somebody, then it's my problem to clear up. It's not their problem to clear up. If Mr. Tallarico has met the requirements for being a council, for being a commissioner, and has done his job without any problems or complaints, I don't see why he shouldn't be considered for this position. Now, if it's a situation where because this last 7 weeks there hasn't been any effort made to effectuate some discourse on this issue, perhaps you might want to hold off, ask Mr. Buenaventura when he can see his way clear to clarify this, and then before it comes forward again, because I'm sensing that he's not going to support the nomination at this juncture. So maybe perhaps you might want to ask him that question.
Mr. Buenaventura, at the end of this meeting, I will email you all of the contact information for Mr. Tallarico. I encourage you to contact him to see what resolution you can reach about the rumors that you heard about something that he may have said, but you won't tell us what it was. And then at the next meeting, we can have this vote. So I withdraw my nomination at this point to give you yet several more weeks to go ahead and resolve it. Are you willing to do that?
Say is that I gave you, I asked you that specifically when this issue first came up. I asked you, I said, I would like to talk to Mr. Tallarico. So I asked you if you would defer the vote on it so him and I can have a discussion. And your position was no. So you didn't want that discussion to happen.
No, that's not what I said. I said, no, I want the vote to happen tonight.
Fine, but I asked you specifically that I wanted to have this discussion with Mr. Tallarico.
Yes.
And if you would give me the time to do it, and your position was no. And so, for me, your position is settled, and so is mine.
So because you don't like something I did, you are going to attack a member of our community who has volunteered year after year after year, who is a former employee of this city, because you don't like the way I said something? Please call me any name you want to, but don't take it out on an innocent resident of this city.
It's not about me not liking.
Oh, yes, it is. And everybody here can see that. It's about you made me, I didn't do what you wanted me to do. Well, I'm asking you to be a grown-up man, contact Mr. Tallarico, let's resolve this problem, and you can call me any name in the book, you can hate me all you want, but I will not have you take it out on a volunteer, a resident who has stepped up to the plate time after time to help this city. It's despicable that you would do that.
So back to what I was saying, perhaps maybe a time frame for them to get together.
Absolutely.
And resolve whatever issues they may have. I think that what Mr. Ventura was asking at the outset was for that time that you weren't willing to give him, and that perhaps now it seems like you are willing to give him that time. So
it wasn't that I didn't want to give him the time. I just wanted to see what the vote was going to be.
I get it. I just like
without it.
I just like to move this thing forward.
Yes.
If we could, and get some sort of consensus as to when this might be ripe for discussion yet again.
I'm ready and willing to discuss it at any time.
Okay. Are there any other comments? There's no other comments, so then.
Wait a second. So, Mr. Sylvester.
You just withdrew your.
Yeah, Mr. Sylvester, would you be willing to talk to Mr. Tallarico? I know you served with him on the Planning Commission.
Madam Christensen, I know we're trying to come to some sort of resolution to this.
Yes, a positive resolution.
I have no qualms with Mr. Tallarico. The issue I have is all our commissioners are appointed by us up here on the board as part of council. If there is any particular commissioner who steps out of line, then I think that they should be held to a higher degree of standard as anyone else. The whole idea is we all need to get along. With the advent of social media nowadays, if you post something up on the internet that you don't want somebody else to see, you don't post it. I believe in freedom of speech, but I also believe in freedom of consequence. So I feel, once again, I have no qualms with Mr. Tallarico, but at the same time, if the information is correct, this is hearsay information, I haven't seen it, but I need folks to work it out. And I have to be comfortable that they've worked it out. I respect your appointment, and at the same time, I respect
Basically, you're not going to support it until they resolve it?
Don't infer anything. And
that's a question,
Madam Christensen,
not a statement.
Madam Christensen, I'm sitting here biting my tongue. You don't run this meeting, and you should not be getting into a debate between back and forth, back and forth.
Hey, wait a minute.
Okay.
This is what we
Hold
do
on.
here.
Hold on.
This is what we do here.
Follow Robert Rules of Order. If somebody
Why are you
speaks,
talking?
okay, because you.
This is
yeah.
okay.
I am outraged that he would say if a commission, and you try to stop me, call the cops.
No one's calling the cops.
Then
no one
I'm
is
going to talk,
calling
and I can
the
talk
cops.
louder than you can.
No,
Why
are you yelling?
When a member
Excuse
of this
me.
council says if a commissioner steps out of line, this is America. We have freedom of speech and freedom of thought. I wouldn't appoint
if there were sentiments that were similar or
if anyone
sentiments that were disrespectful or
it is
we were talking about something earlier, and if there's something disrespectful in a manner or
It's
so,
not against the law.
it's not, but I mean, is it the
You don't
right
even
thing to
know
do?
what he said because no one here will even say it. And then you mentioned social media, and there's nothing that he posted on social media.
There's a way to be and decorum as a commissioner,
this group
and really to
down
be
here
respectful.
has the power of the vote, and they are trying to make a big issue out of this instead of just respecting the volunteer who stepped up. And you're going to sit there all smug, and if someone steps out of line, I tell you, I am proud to step out of line.
Well,
Well, there's a way to do business, and I don't know if yelling.
That's not the way to do it.
And if yelling, I think that's not the way we should conduct business at the
Well,
dais.
that's your freedom to express that, and it's mine to disagree.
I mean, there's a way to conduct business, and right now you're yelling. And I think we're moving on. You've withdrew your nomination, and so we're moving on. I think that it's reiterated that there needs to be respect amongst
I want
commissioners.
respect for Mr. Tallarico. That's what I'm demanding.
Okay, well, there needs to be respect both ways in both regards. Okay, so I think respect doesn't come one way, and so I think what was reiterated earlier was around respect towards council members as well, right? And there's a way to do business. And so I'm going to just
Wait a
move
second.
forward
This is once
we're
again
moving forward
crazy.
to excuse
You got
me.
the 3 votes, you're going to get whatever you want, but I am not going to be happy with this. It's not right. It's morally corrupt. And if I have to yell to make that heard, I will do
at
so.
this
I'm
point
just about
and
mad
matter,
with the 3 of you.
at this point and matter, there isn't anything you're mentioning around any lines
I am sick
that
of all
have been
3 of you, and
crossed.
I am leaving this meeting now.
Well,
I'm
we
not going
have-
to waste my time dealing with people who would attack a resident and then try to defend it because I lack decorum. I've got the courage to speak up. Just like I told you, that lady in line, she'd hear plenty from me.
Well,
enjoy the rest of the meeting. You can have all the decorum you want. I've had enough for one night.
Okay, well, we're moving on, and because we do have business to be done, and it's our duty to the people to ensure that we're here to make votes and also ensure that we conduct business. So we're moving on. We have our council committee reports. And our Affordable Housing Council Committee. As you all know, affordable housing is a huge issue here in Daly City, and extremely important for us to find ways to find opportunities for our residents. With everything that has been happening, we know that that we need to find opportunities to do so. We have the Affordable Housing Committee with Council Member Glenn Sylvester and I met with the staff and with the Housing Trust Funds from Sand Hill Partners Foundation for the purpose of preservation and rehabilitation of 16 apartments on East Mulkey. Basically, it's ensuring that there are smaller sites out there that need to be preserved. Because if these small sites are purchased by market rate or anyone that wants to raise the rents, that's what's happening with these individuals. And so with these actual units, we would be able to, with actually the Sand Hill Partners Foundation, preserve units so that it's actually going to remain affordable. So these are some of the actual, I think, remedies we're trying to really help our community members that have echoed very strongly around finding ways to find more affordable opportunities. And so with that, that's what transpired from our meeting, is to move forward in ensuring that we'd use our affordable housing trust funds as a loan to Sandhill Partners. I'll also yield it to Councilmember Sylvester for any other comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Affordable housing is #1 priority in our city. It's getting tough, and especially for those who are currently in housing, to continue. I've always made the point, and I've always asked the question, what are we doing with our housing trust funds? And thanks to staff, Tatum and Ms. Obell, who's in the audience, they provided all the information, all the questions were answered, and the money was just sitting there. I think this was an outstanding opportunity to use the funds to rehabilitate these 16 units, and we had to act quickly. As the mayor made mention, somebody could have came in and just bought the property and for a profit. But we want to see that it's put towards renovating and keeping folks where they're at now. So I would like to thank staff. Madam Mayor, it's a pleasure to serve with you on this committee, and we're looking forward to the partnership with Sandhill Properties.
Thank you, Councilmember Sylvester. We're hoping that these units also serve as possibly a model that could be replicated, and if there are any other affordable housing opportunities or apartments that are coupled together, or 3 or 4 buildings, that we would be able to actually hopefully see this as a model to help alleviate kind of the need for affordable housing. We're moving on to North County Fire Authority with the JPA Board Meeting Council Committee. And so this was what was talked about earlier. It's an annual meeting with the North County Fire Authority. And I will, if there's any updates that you'd like to share, I think Councilmember Sylvester did have, some questions at that meeting.
It's all about the money. Last year, we lost Engine 95. And as a result, for this city to save money, this was prior to 95, a JPA, what do you call it? Joint powers agreement between the 3 cities, Brisbane, Pacifica, and Daly City, where they all get together and share resources. I believe Daly City has 5 stations. Brisbane has 1, and Pacifica, I think, has 2. So basically, I posed the question, how much is Daly City paying? And are we sharing the resources correctly? Whether it's by land mass, whether it's by calls, or whether it's by population. I really felt I didn't get my questions answered. And how much are we paying for these services? I didn't get my questions answered. But unfortunately, I was outvoted. The budget still went through, but I will continue to question how we are spending our money because of the structural deficit that this city is in. We need to make sure that we are getting our money's worth. So I will continue to do so, and that was the result of the meeting. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. At this point, we'll move on to City Council reports. I'd like to inform the public that we did have interviews for city manager over the weekend of the first week of June. But we have come to a conclusion as a consensus as a city council that we will continue to search for a city manager. We want to ensure that we get the right fit. We want to ensure that we've done an extensive look and search for the city manager, and that we do not want to go through a hasty process. And if it takes us a little longer, that time we feel is beneficial. To ensure that we do so, and that we will be looking to hire the city manager further down the line after the November elections. But rest assured that in that interim, we will be appointing someone that will be capable and to do so. So, we'll be appointing someone on July 1st. So that's the update with the city manager recruitment. And we definitely feel that that's the best strategy moving forward, so that we can, widen the pool and really reach more candidates. So thank you for that. And then, are there any other city council reports?
Yeah.
Okay, Councilmember Sylvester.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to get an item agendized for a future council meeting. This is on a review of Klein-Duplessis, D-U-P-I-P-L-I-S-E-A. It has come to my understanding that Daly City is putting out a certain amount of money to this particular firm every month, and I'm not getting any information as to what this money is for and what this company does for Daly City. I would like the person to appear before council and explain what it is that he does. It's a legislative advocate. And I haven't received any reports or how is this person advocated for our city and our needs, but yet we continue to pay this person a lot of money every month. I think we need, as a council, to review and for the public to see and understand. I keep a firm eye. Whenever I find something that I think is out of the ordinary, I'm going to call it, especially when it comes to spending money. So I would like to get this item agendized for one of our council meetings down the line. And until this person can appear here before council, I would like to request that all payments discontinue until we can make a decision here on council whether we want to continue with the services of this person.
Thank you, Councilmember Sylvester, and Mr. Kern, you have that noted for noted because that was a request. You're acting city manager at the moment.
I'll confer with the city attorney.
So-
I'm not aware if there's any contractual obligation.
No, I mean as far as, yeah, okay. Thank you very much for that
That's all
comment.
I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. It's been a while since we had our last city council meeting, and I wanted to say there has been numerous events, and some have been annual events, but really worthy, of course, of noting around ensuring that we have support for our young people. There were, we had the annual scholarship that was here in the chambers, and to see the young people from all the high schools such as Jefferson and Westmore really talk about their collegiate goals, and to hear where they're going as far as furthering their education was wonderful to see. And then also seeing the younger students, the Jefferson Elementary School District students that were Student of the Year. That was another event where you see young people in elementary and middle school really excel, and what a great pride for their parents to see them become Student of the Year. And those were some of the events that we had prior, which was I had also the opportunity to be a keynote speaker for Westmore High School graduation, which was something very special to me to see about 400 students graduate for the class of 2018. And that truly inspires me. I think one thing I really enjoy in the line of work that I do is meeting the young people and knowing that, they are our future generation. It was just very inspiring to see the next generation move ahead to their next journey. And then I think that's it for now. And if there's, at this moment, will be, also, if there's any staff reports. I also wanted to mention that for the city manager survey, around what we provided online, we do have a synopsis of that. But at this point, I think what we'll do is we'll also continue to provide opportunity for the public to provide input if they weren't able to fill out the survey. And so we'll put that back online, and if we'll be able to do that in the future. There was a survey online to provide input if you wanted to, fill out a survey around what you would want to see for the next city manager. At this point, do we have any staff reports?
No staff reports, other than to mention that school's wrapping up at the Daly City Schools this week, and on behalf, public service announcement on behalf of the Daly City Police Department, be extra alert starting next week. There'll be lots of kids out of school in the streets of Daly City.
Thank you very much. So at this point, we'll adjourn in tonight's council meeting in the memory of the following. Very unfortunate that there have been Bayshore seniors from the Bayshore Senior Friendship Club members and active citizens in the Bayshore for over 45 years. Esther Spencer, Ida Taylor, Walter Quinteros. Also, Frank Dominguez, which is Daly City Police Lieutenant Michael Brennan's father-in-law. And also Jane Goff, Daly City Police Assistant Karen Goff's mother. So at this point,
Can we also add Officer Klaus? What was his full name? Richard Klaus.
and with Officer Richard Klaus. May we all have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Thank you very